Okay, we're recording. Yeah, thanks for coming to hang out. I think our topic is plans for 2022, 2023. Um, yeah, sorry, Paige just dropped something in the Zoom chat that's sad. Uh yeah, let's first go around so in case we do use this for something, everybody knows everybody's voices, and I want you to say your name and where you are in the world. And if you have a podcast, please say so, since I think over half of you do. VE, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm V.E. Griffith. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, and I run the Revision Wizards podcast.
Nice. And your voice got, so you changed microphones on us
I did
while I
change
wasn't
microphones.
looking, and your voice got incredibly deep. That was awesome. Tom?
Hi, I'm Tom Holbrook. I don't have a podcast, but will next year. I do have author services at Holbrook Author Services, HOLBROOK. I own a bookstore. I help people get their first book out into the world, and love the Dialogue Doctor.
Thanks, Tom. Did you say, sorry, I got distracted by writing to Paige. Did you say you're the name of your upcoming podcast? I didn't hear it.
That doesn't have a name yet.
Okay, so it's coming.
But I gave the name of my website. So
I did get that. Yeah. I slid off there for a second and I was like, did he say it? I didn't hear it. Okay. Well, if we use this next year, we'll put it in. I'll put it in post. I'll ask Aaron to record it and he can come in a deep voice. All right, Sarah, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm writing my first novel, and I don't have a podcast, and I probably don't have a lot to contribute, but I'm here.
Nice. It's awesome. Shane, how about you?
Right, I am Shane. I'm in Buckinghamshire in the UK. I have a podcast. It's the Storytellers Face Off podcast. My wonderful co-host is on this call as well. And I'm currently guest hosting the Unstoppable Authors podcast while one of the hosts takes a break. So if anyone wants to tune into that, nice, you can do so.
That's a great podcast. Very cool.
It is. Now I'm on it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I mean, it was just above average before you joined, but now it's excellent.
I'm going to tell Holly you said that.
Please don't. Cassie, we'll let you go since
we are recording.
Oh, see, and I said
there's evidence now. So what he said, I'm in the podcast with Shane. So what am I supposed to be answering now? I'm laughing too hard. I got distracted. So Sassy Writing Coach. I did get certified. I have my accreditation now through Author Accelerator, which is huge for me. Took me forever, it felt like. I'm also a fiction and nonfiction author, and I also am a graphic designer, and am launching my book cover business at the end of the month.
Nice.
Which is surreal.
What's the name of the book cover business?
Booklitical Designs, and it's for suspense and thrillers. I'm doing pre-made seasonally, and taking only a few custom covers.
Are you redoing series? Because I have a thriller series that needs to be redone.
It's so funny. I just have a lady who reached out to me who wants me to do her 2 series.
Nice.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
Doesn't that thriller series also need to be finished? Is that one of those?
You know what, V, you can just sit up there by yourself.
All of a sudden you're muted and put in black.
Hang on, whoa. But don't all the series.
What happened?
Yeah,
I'll go sit in the corner now.
Finished, though, right? All the series need to be finished.
What? I didn't come on here this morning to get attacked by you guys. No, yeah. It's a weird, okay, we'll finish introductions, then I'm going to ask that question. Maddie, yeah, you ask for it. Maddie, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Maddie Dalrymple. I'm outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I have a podcast called The Indie Author, Indie with a Y, INDY. And I'll also just add, I'm the author of The Indie Author's Guide to Podcasting for Authors, should that be of interest to anyone.
Yeah, a fantastic book. I read it when I got started. It was great. Highly recommend. Mary, I think you are last but absolutely not least.
Mary Van Everbrook. I'm in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Maddie, I don't know where you are, right outside Philly. I don't have a podcast and no intention at this time of having a podcast, but it's very nice to see the faces that I get to type. Sarah and Maddie. I hadn't seen her face. I think I've seen everybody else. So thank you.
Yeah. Nice. We're tired of seeing VE's face since he brings up things about books that he shouldn't talk about on podcast. Just kidding. Okay, so here's my question. When do you abandon a series? At what point is it not worth it to write anymore? Go ahead, Shane. I see you bursting at the seams and tell me never. Go ahead.
Yeah, you don't. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You
and
just
I
don't.
always have to disagree with
Yeah,
you.
I know you do. Yeah, you'll get your time. You'll get your time in a minute. This isn't a storyteller's face-off episode. In fact, I think we have discussed this on the podcast. But yeah, you don't abandon a series. You carry on until it's done, because I've got high competition, and that's how it works.
Who are you
And
competing against? I'm gonna push
myself.
back. Who are you competing
Me.
against with a dead series?
Me, myself. Yeah. Don't judge me, man. Look, you're the one with the unfinished series.
Two of them. Yeah. Cassie, you want to push back?
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mary. I didn't mean to cut you off.
So let me just put this into perspective. My competition is 16, but I have maximizer, achiever, strategic, activator, like me. So here's my thought process. If your series is not serving either your readers or yourself, like you're seeing a big decline, I would recommend wrapping it up, because if you're not enjoying it, then what's the purpose? If it's not a moneymaker, then what's the purpose? So I think you have to look at it twofold, and it's not just a matter of completion, because, writer feel you can pivot. You can wrap it up enough that it completes the series for you.
Oh, I didn't say where you had to finish it, just as long as you write a last book to wrap things up. Yes, you don't have to carry on. Like my first series is planned for 9 books, but I'm not sure that it's going to make it that long.
Yeah. I just think trudging through a series for the sake of trudging through a series of completion is not healthy. Because if you're not loving it, nobody else is going to love it either. You might have like 5 diehard fans, but if you don't have enough to warrant the cost of publishing those books, I mean, nobody likes to talk about the business side, but you need to.
Mary, I totally cut you off. Were you going to say something?
Well,
I'm sorry.
I've been reading your series, so I'm interested and I want more. So which ones are you talking about? Now, I may be one of the 5, but I count.
But Mary, if you wrapped it up in a satisfying way sooner than anticipated, you'd be okay with that.
No, I don't know.
To be clear, I didn't wrap either. I literally stopped one mid-plot. Yeah, the first series I wrote has, I have to count them, 4 books in it. That I wrote a 5th book written by a friend of mine. And it feels like a lesson in co-writing. Like, my friend and I had we started writing at the same time, very quickly came into very different like pacing and all that kind of stuff of like, and goals of what we wanted from our fiction and all of that. And so he's cranked out like, a book every like 4 or 5 years. There's just nothing wrong with that. I wrote my part of the series. I wrote 4 books in a year and a half. And by the time I got to the 4th one that I wrote, I think 65 people have read it. So, and the first one, the problem is the first one has over 100,000 downloads because it was free for a while. So there's no read through. Like there's 0 read through. So that's why I was like, I'm going to put this aside until somebody actually reads it. Like, not somebody, but more people read it.
There's this book series I loved called it was written by, I think, Picketta's Lore, something like that. It was I Am 4 and all of those books. And it was a collaboration under one author name. Same thing happened. one of them kind of trailed off and the book series just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mary.
That's okay. I just wonder if it's a marketing thing. Just because people don't read it doesn't mean it's not good.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's just a matter of figuring out how to get it out. I mean, I think it would be a shame. I've been reading the Watson and I forget what
Hal.
series.
Yeah. That's my second
just
series.
I think it's great, and I think a lot of people, it's just a matter of the marketing strategy, I think.
Yeah,
but that's a two-pronged strategy. One is marketing and one's the desire as the writer to continue it. So you're thinking as a reader because you want more, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, if you market it, they will come, Jeff. They will come. Jeff's like, do I want to finish it?
Well, I mean, since we're talking strengths, I'm number 3 context, and my past tells me that they will not come because they have not come. So there's a fighting through that. But it is and you're right. You're 100% right, Mary. I was new when I made the first series, and I totally botched the covers, and I did terrible things to my cover designer who made beautiful covers. And then I got mad that a beta reader didn't understand what the lead character looked like. And so I was like, put his face on the cover. And my cover designer was like, that's not a good idea. That only happens in romance. And I was like, you don't know. I'm the writer. You do what I tell you. And she was like, okay. And then we did to the next one of the series. I was like, put all their faces on the cover. And so, and she was like, that's not a good idea. I was like, you don't know. And so I was like, I'm going to be different. I'm going to buck genre conventions.
Did you ever make it up with her, or are you still on the outs?
Yeah, she's been my cover designer all the way through. She's great. She's fantastic. And I learned in the second series, just let her do her thing. Just shut up and be like, I tell her, I'm like, I want this. It's falling in this genre with these kind of these are like the comp books that I'm going to add toward. Do your thing. And she goes and does her thing. And I think the covers, since I stopped interfering with her designs, have been beautiful. But I have to redo. They do get outdated, though. Like the covers, the mystery series I published 3 years ago, covers look very different on mystery series 3 years ago than they do now. So I got to recover those.
I would love at some future point to have a discussion about rebranded covers that you and Cassie could lead us through, because I'm facing it myself.
Ooh, are you rebranding the mystery series you write?
Yeah.
Nice. Tom, I know you just rebranded with AI, right?
I did. I just rebranded all my covers, and I also wanted to chime in. If you have 100,000 free downloads but bad read through, you're either advertising the free book to the wrong people, or that book is just not doing it. So writing another book doesn't make any sense. And many people will tell you to not go back and fix the first book, although I had a lot of fun going back and re-editing my first book. After book 5, I went back to book 1, and I didn't overdo it. I just went through and tweaked, and it was a good time, actually. I was like, hey, I like this book more than I remember. So, and I will say from editing, I haven't had this problem in fiction, but with editing jobs, like if I'm not into the job, it takes twice as long. It is just brutal. And so, I think wrap it up the fastest you can. Just don't leave it hanging necessarily, but just get it out of there.
Yeah, that's a good. And both series are totally hanging. I literally stopped the third series or the first series in the middle of a protagonist antagonist showdown, and then I was like, no, I'm gonna write a side book. I wrote a side book, and I never came back to the showdown. Yeah.
Well, one option is that something I did with mine is I was working on the Ann Kinnear suspense novels, and I had done 2, and then I got an idea for another story, but it didn't fit into the Ann Kinnear world. So I was working on the other series. It ended up being 3 books, which probably were over 4 years or something like that. But I was writing short stories in the Ann Kinnear world just to tide everybody over. So if you just think you're temporarily bored, you could keep it
Yeah.
going that way without that same kind of time and emotional commitment that a novel would take.
Yeah, it is interesting that the difference between thinking, I think Cassie, you were pointing this out a second ago, the difference between thinking like a reader and thinking like a business person. Because as a writer and a business person, because as a writer, I very much want to finish the series. But as a business person, I'm like, that's 4 to 5 months where I'm not going to make any money. Like that's 4 to 5 months where I'm actually throwing money into a pit because I got to get it covered, I got to get it edited, I got to get it, all of those things. So it's a weird. Anyway, thanks VE for putting me on the spot. Any other thoughts on this conundrum about finishing series or not finishing series? I think the dream for all of us is that all of our series become the Dark Tower for Stephen King, which he like wrote as like a junior high student or a high school student. I think he says in his on writing. I'd have to go. It's been years since I read that. I'd have to go back and read it. But he like wrote the first couple books, and he's like, these are terrible. Now he says that in on writing. He's like, they're not well written, but people love them, and people discovered them after he became big, and now they're like hugely obsessed. Yeah, anyway, all right, let's talk about the new year. Let's start with what is something you accomplished this year in 2022 that you are super proud of? Yeah, go for it. You're on mute.
I always raise my hand.
Yeah.
I'm never shy to talk, but I had a wonderful year. So I'm trying to move out of. Am I frozen?
No, you're still
Everybody
talking.
froze.
You're there. We can
Okay,
hear you.
great. I'm frozen.
Yeah.
I'm
You're
in
only
a
frozen.
different house I'm in a different building, and it's still freezing. But wherever I go, my internet freezes. It's the plate in my head. I tried semi-successfully to move away from my bookstore business into author services, and that's been so successful. But I can see a future path for that, which is great. And more importantly, after 2 years of 2 years of not finishing a book, I've got 2 books out and another one in the nonfiction book and a fiction book, and I have another fiction book in the can, which I actually wrote for Nano, and it came out really great, and it's already in the editing phase. So, and way back in February, we adopted a kid, so that was crazy.
Nice,
crazy year.
That's amazing, man. So great. Anybody else? I gotta tell you, I used to just focus on like what didn't I accomplish that I wanted to accomplish. And about 3 years ago, I was like, this is a bad question. I should focus rather on the things that went well. So that's, yeah. Just want to explain the question. Shane, why don't you tell us about your insane year so everybody else isn't intimidated?
Wow, way to cue up the pressure there. Okay, so author-wise, I published 9 books this year, 4 fiction and 5 non-fiction. I've also published 2 short story reader magnets. I have launched my editing services and qualified as a Fictionary certified story coach. I have launched my podcast with the amazing Cassie. I have got a job at Fictionary as their community and customer success manager, which is fantastic. I'm finally out of that corporate nonsense, which is just the best thing that has ever happened. What else have I done?
Although I really did like thinking of you like making decisions about pet insurance. I don't know if that's what you actually did, but that was what was in my mind. So
yes, Jeff, that is what I did. I decided who got the money and who did not get the money.
Yeah, I really liked the idea. I was actually plotting a novel based on your like need to decide who got money based on pet insurance.
Wow. Okay, yeah, you need to finish those series, man, first before you start this business. Yeah, so that's pretty much been my year. It's been a good year. I appeared on some amazing podcasts like the Creative Pen podcast, the Rebel Author podcast, all the podcasts except Matty's. I am coming for you, Matty. I'm going to pitch you soon. Yeah.
Nice. Excellent
That's
year.
what I've done this year. Yeah, it's been great.
Fantastic. All right. Who wants to follow Shane?
My big thing this year, honestly, was my own podcast. Getting started with Revision Wizards and not abandoning it. We're starting to record and edit and put up the second half of our year.
Nice.
So we're recorded and in the can and ready to publish through the end of January, I think, and we're putting together the next set of stuff. We got to get running on it because the end of January is going to be pretty quick. But I'm proud of myself that we haven't abandoned it at the usual 7 episodes. And we've got some neat guests planned for the second half of the year. So
that's fantastic. It's really good too. You should be very proud of it.
And we had Shane on and we had Jeff on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone else?
I finished Nano, but what I'm proud of is I haven't thrown it out or destroyed what I wrote off the computer. So I still have it, and I'm still rewriting or editing. So I'm very proud about that. We'll see. Each day is it's a challenge. Yes.
Yeah, you didn't just finish Nano; you crushed Nano. You rocked
words.
Nano's world.
Yeah, but then you have to do something with the words, and yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but the main thing is I haven't thrown it out. That's the main thing.
Nice.
I haven't
That's
gotten
fantastic.
frustrated and say, be gone,
Awesome.
Mary, I'm looking forward to supporting you the way you support the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
1000%.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I count on all you, so thank you.
I can go. I finished a book that was somewhat of my white whale. It's a rewrite of the first book I wrote. And it felt really good to finish. It took me 1.5 years to write it, so it was a long, arduous process. I put that on May. I think the big thing for me this year is I helped my daughter get into college basketball. That's taken up so much of my headspace and emotion. Even this week we were in New York, and she is committed. So I can say now, pending getting accepted to the school, which I hope is not going to be a problem, but she's committed to Brooklyn College in New York. But even this week, we're in New York, it's Christmas, we're doing this amazing kind of tour. My wife and I were just walking around downtown New York in almost silence, which is very odd for us. And I looked at her and I was like, man, I'm just stressed out. So it was just super anxious helping my daughter kind of navigate this weird world of, I like you. Do you like me? Do you like me? I like you. I like you. Do you like, you don't like me? You don't like me. Okay. I'm going to go somewhere else. Okay. Do you like me? Oh, you like me. You like me. I don't know that I like you, but you like me. So that's good. Do you like, it's just this weird, strange, it feels like you're passing notes in elementary school. That's check yes or no. And then waiting for them to pass it back. But yeah, so that was I feel like that was my big accomplishment this year, was helping her. It's really her accomplishment. I can't take credit for it, but I did help her write and send a lot of emails, and we went on a lot of trips. So yeah, anyway. Yeah. Anybody else? Things that they accomplished this year they want to shout out? Go for it, Cassie.
So every year I always think of a word for my year and kind of my purpose, and 2022 was build. And I did a lot of building. So from podcasts, which I never really thought I would do, but then Shane was like, oh, we should do this. But then I'm one of those people where I'm just very strategic and achiever. So it just bolded after that. And then he said, let's put it on YouTube. Whatever. Okay. But I got 2 books out this year, fiction and nonfiction, and I finished my first series trilogy. So that was huge for me. And the other big thing that was huge was that I dove into audiobooks, and I think the podcasting gave me confidence to narrate my own book. So that was huge for me. And I built and launched my coaching business prior to certification and rebranded and all these things. So it's been a very much a building year. So
Nice.
And my daughter narrated my fiction book and graduated college this year with her theater degree. So I'm excited to help her kick off her voiceover business and narration business. So
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Anybody else want to share? I'm not going to force anybody to share. Go for it, Maddie.
So from a creative point of view, I published the ebook, print, and also the audiobook of the 5th Ann Kinnear suspense novel, which is A Serpent's Tooth. I didn't narrate, but I managed the creation of the audiobook, and just got the edits from Ann Kinnear 6 back from my editor. So I'm working away on that. And then while he had it, I started my 4th Lucy Ballard book. So I feel like from a writing point of view, it went pretty well. And then from a business point of view, I think other people have experienced this too. I had a pretty good 2021 and a really awful 2022 from a sales point of view. And so I spent a lot of time, reassessing where I was investing my money. I'm really deprioritizing investing it on social media advertising at the moment. But I think more importantly, I reassessed who I was paying to do things. So I had been paying somebody to help me with a podcast. I ended up suspending that because I just couldn't justify sinking the money into like fine transcript editing and things like that. So I've picked up that myself, but I did invest in someone to help me with the financial side of my publishing business, because that's just something I'm just not good at. And it's a good friend whom I've known for many, many, many years. So I was comfortable just saying, here are the passwords to all my financial accounts, just take care of this. And it was, not only like a huge load off my mind, but it was also, just a good thing for my business to have somebody who is more numbers oriented than I am taking care of that.
That's awesome. That's really great. Anybody else want to shout out an accomplishment? Okay, weird question. How do you feel when you've accomplished something, and how do you move on to the next thing? This is something I'm working on personally. That's why I ask. I'm curious how everybody else feels.
I feel relief. It's almost like a tug between elation and almost just like complete exhaustion. And I know that's completely opposite of each other, but when I finished my series, it was just kind of like this huge weight off my shoulders and freedom to do something else. But I'm still proud of it. You know what I mean? Like it's a dichotomy between the two. So I'm joyous to start the next thing and a little hesitant because I don't know. I think you also want to bask in a little bit and give yourself some freedom from the other thing that you did. It's almost as if someone has passed away, and it sounds odd to say that, but it's like mourning something, that's ended and rejoicing for something that's starting differently. I don't know. I think it's a dichotomy between the two emotions, to be quite honest.
Interesting.
I usually feel relief that it's done, and also a tremendous fear that it sucks. That's, every episode is worse than the previous one. And, that's kind of my chronic depression and negativity coming through. Even though I know intellectually that's not true, that's, there's often a dichotomy between what I know and what I feel.
It's not true, by the way. Your episodes are great. It's a lie. You tell yourself.
They are.
Yeah.
For me, it motivates me to just go on with the process. I'm a process person, And probably that's why it takes me, it's not that I've accomplished a lot in my life, but to me, the process is what's always been more important. So it just motivates me to, okay, I got this. Now let's go to the next step and fiddle your way through that and go to the next step. And yeah.
Nice.
I'm the opposite of Cassie. When I finish something, I am never more motivated to start the next thing. I like leap right in. For me, it's the middle. The middle is just brutal. There's so many times I'm in the middle of something, I'm like, I am never going to finish this. And what I've tried to do is chop goals up into smaller pieces, so that the end of it doesn't seem as far away. But yeah, every project when I'm in the middle, I think, should I keep doing this or should I just not? But when I finish something, I am jazzed. I'm like ready. Like, what's next? What's next? So
nice. That's fun. That's a nice problem to have. It keeps you moving forward.
Except when you're in the middle.
Yeah.
And then it's like molasses. It's like molasses and quicksand.
Trudging. Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts on? Yeah.
So Cassie has berated me on this many, many times. So this is nothing new for her. But when I finish a project, I know that I don't take enough time to celebrate the fact that the project is done. In my defense, I am number one futuristic if we're going back to strengths. So I'm like 5 projects ahead already. In my head, it's 2024. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I operate. But yeah, I know I don't take enough time to celebrate when a project is done. And I probably don't take enough time to appreciate the project while I'm in it either, because again, I'm always focused on the next 5 projects instead of the one that I'm actually working on. And this is going to sound awful, but I'm a writer who hates writing. I hate the drafting phase. It's the most hated, horrible thing. I love having written, absolutely love it, but I don't actually like writing.
Interesting. That's fascinating. That's fine. I was thinking about that, like how we get around the things that we hate, because I find the hardest thing for me is starting the next book, because I'm a big plotter, so I have to have it all in my head before I can like start the next one. And that's the like competition of ideas, the deciding where I want to invest time, like that's tough for me. And so I was listening to Joanna Penn's The Creative Pen, and she was talking about using AI to build an outline for a book. And I was like, I could just start running books out if I did that, because the writing for me is really fast once I have the outline. But yeah, anyway, that's just so Shane, maybe we can find some kind of AI to do the first draft for you, and then you can just come in and
So have you heard of Jasper AI?
No.
So I have it. And it's a writing AI, and I find it helpful, but I also find it, I don't know that I trust it all the time, but I like it for an outline purpose and giving me kind of springboarding ideas and different points. But I get nervous about, but I'm also a designer. I get very nervous about creative AIs and things of that nature. So yeah, but I'm the complete opposite of you and Shane. I love story mapping and starting the drafts. I hate the editing. So
yeah, but that's why so many collaborations that you hear about in this community or in the TEL community are one person writes the first draft and the other person writes the second draft, which is different than I used to think of collaboration. And I think it really, plays on strengths. So might be worth, if you hate first drafts, it might be worth looking at collaborating with somebody.
I might well be looking at that, Tom. You never know.
Yeah, JP is great.
You're horrible. The guy who like publishes 9 books in a year. Yeah. I don't like writing.
I don't. I just want to get it finished. That's why I write so quickly, because I want it done.
Yeah. Yeah, JP and I are great. He writes the Nerds Vela with me, and he's great to work with because he plots everything for me, so I can just go draft. It's really nice. I don't have to think about it. I just read his plot points, and I'm like, all right, I can write to that. But then I do change them halfway through, and then he has to put them back in the editing. So
Which he gets very frustrated with.
he does sometimes, yeah. Especially when I like forget what town we're in. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Anybody else? Any other thoughts on, like, speaking of new stuff, what's everybody looking forward to in 2023? What are we gonna do? Shane's gonna try to, his competitive nature is gonna try to get him up to 12 books this year. Go ahead, Maddie. I'm sorry.
I am doing more in-person events. So in regrouping on
Nice.
2022, where I was not doing any, not for COVID reasons, but just because I had assessed the cost benefit of doing in-person events, and that wasn't paying off in 2021, but in 2022, when everything sort of went to hell in a handbasket, I'm really going to be rethinking that. And so I'm going to be looking at doing more in-person events next year.
What are you doing?
Getting in touch with bookstores and looking for opportunities to do signings, doing more readings. I'm looking more into doing reader focused in addition to writer focused conferences. Yeah, those are some of the things I'm looking into.
Nice. That's awesome. Sounds great. Anybody else?
I was going to say, this year, my term, if you will, my word is foundational growth.
That's two words.
It's 2 words. I said, or 2 words, foundational
Right,
or
she
growth.
needs an editor.
Yeah. I told you I just like to draft. Shh.
Sorry, Cassie. I'm sorry. I threw you off.
I love teasing. It's my personality. Anyway, so but I'm really looking forward to drafting a story I've had outlined for over 4 years.
Nice.
So I'm really excited to start it. That's probably one of the things that I'm the most excited about, but the most trepidatious about, because I looked at the outline and I'm like, So I'm like you in that regard, Jeff. I do like plot points, and I always start out that way, but I always change them. So I'm a very different writer now than I was 4 years ago. So yeah, I found that to be kind of interesting. So I'm going to actually start pitching myself to other podcasts and events and things, which I've not really done a lot of. So yeah, growth in that direction, and then see.
Nice.
Yeah, so like Cassie, I also pick a word for the year. My word for last year was production, unsurprisingly. This year, that is not the word. It is development this year. So there are a couple of things I'm doing to try and do that. I've taken the plunge and signed up for Jay Thorne's author business cohort.
Yay! That's great.
Yeah, that hopefully that'll be really fantastic. Huge investment, but it'll be worth it, I think. Jay's fantastic. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I do have 4 books scheduled to publish this year, so nowhere near the output that I did last year. It's unsustainable, the rapid release thing, quite frankly. And I will also be looking at more in-person events and conferences and speaking and all of that type of stuff. And my major goal, one of my major goals this year, is to turn my non-fiction books into courses, so that I've got some higher ticket items after our chat with Alicia, Jeff, where we were talking about kind of getting those higher ticket items on the docket. So that will be happening. And my major goal this year in terms of development is financial. And I've put it out there publicly on other things, so I might as well say it here, but I want to make 5 figures or multi-5 figures in annual revenue from my author business alone by leveraging multiple streams of income.
Nice. It's a good goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I used to be a really obsessive planner, and I would have like down to the week what I wanted to accomplish. And then something about COVID literally like murdered that part of me. So I have, since 2020, I have really been unable to like sit down and build long-term plans. I'm not real sure what that is. I need to figure out. I probably need to talk to a therapist about it. But anyway, all that to say, I have a book coming out. Nerds, the first season of Nerds is going to come out in March as a novel. It's a nonsensically long 160,000 word beast that I love and I'm very excited about. And then last night, actually, I finished the third draft of the Dialogue Doctor book. So I'm going to probably put that out in April or May, which I'm pumped about. It is painfully short. I'm not sure why. It was one of those, it's 25,000 words. It's one of those that I wrote and I was like, I thought I'd have more to say about this. So I don't know. But that's that'll come out. And I've been contacted by a trad publisher / agent about writing a book of theology essays. Maybe it's one of those like, this might be, he's like, this might be fun if you did this. And I was like, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I don't know about that. So I told him I'd play. He was like, hey, let's get a date on the calendar. And I was like, let me do 3 of the essays and see how they feel. And I've been putting it off for a month. So that's how that's going. And then I probably, I want to write another novel, but I'm just not sure what to write or where to write. My biggest problem has always been that I completely disobey all genre conventions because I don't actually know them. So I went and got the Anatomy of Genre and I'm reading that now. I'm hoping that is going to solve all of my genre problems. So far it's not, but I'm still hopeful that it will, because the problem, I don't think a book can actually sort this out. So yeah, but that's where my plans are. I'm not making detailed plans for 2023. I mean, I have my I'm going to do a podcast every week. I'm going to do a newsletter 3 out of 4 weeks a month, because I just have lived with the fact that like there's sometimes where the day job just makes it impossible. But yeah, so that stuff is routine happening. I'll have a Nerds episode out every week. Like that stuff is just, you get the routines down, but that's not the like big project planning. So I don't know, but I probably won't have another novel out, I would bet, until September at the earliest, would be my guess. I have to figure out what I'm writing first, but yeah, that's me. That's my 2023. Yeah. Anybody else? Go for it, Tom.
Yeah, for me, it's author services. And I just want to say, Shane, like you probably listened to Jeff's thing with Jay. And I did, and Aaron and I were both in the October. Aaron and I were both in the October 3-story method training, which I showed up thinking was going to be talking story, which is great fun, but I actually know a lot about story already. And instead, it was about entrepreneurship, and it was great. So everything that I have on my plan for 2023 comes from that, which is a podcast, but also just how you handle the service and what you charge. I make twice as much with author services than I do working at the bookstore. So for me, it's making that full time, and which is tricky. But and then also I've got 3 books that I know of, 1 nonfiction and 2 fiction. I would love to add a 4th, but maybe that'll be Nano next year. I don't usually do Nano, but we had such a good time. And because I did Nano with a series, I already knew the world, already knew the question, already knew the characters, and it really made it easy to knock that thing out. So so I was proud of that. But yeah, for me, and my word is donuts. 2023.
That's a good
Can I
word.
also
That's a good
request
word.
a conversation at some future date about author services? This all sounds so fascinating.
Yeah. We'll do that.
We can just tell you everything Jay taught us, and then you don't have to pay the money.
Yeah. I have 12 hours on a podcast, evidently, that I haven't listened to. That Shay talking about author services to me. Yeah, I lived it. I don't need to listen to it. I do lose my crap at the end of it though, which I was a little sad about, but that's okay. I was at a weird dad. I was like, "Do you want to record that?" He was like, "Nope, leave it." I'm like, "Okay, well, we'll just leave it with Jeff bawling at the end." Yeah. Anyway,
But that was great, Jeff, because a lot of you said you haven't listened to the episodes, but a lot of them are really weedy. It's like, where do we put the button for the call to action, whatever, which is great. It's great stuff, but to bring home how much that sort of attention to detail and that work on building the service paid off emotionally really, and life-wise was great. It was great.
And can you say again what the name of that is that I should be looking up? Or I'm sure V will pop a link.
Hey, Aaron's going to put up a link in 4 seconds.
Yeah. For those not on the call who may or may not ever listen to this, Aaron has been dropping links. VE's been dropping links into the show notes like a champ.
I think we need a whole call just on Clifton strengths too, because Shane can't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm there for that. I'll be there.
Maybe we can bring Becca on and she can do a help us with our strengths day.
That'd be super cool.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
I would love that. Yeah, Shane's written so many books. He's buying Becca's time. No, that's just kidding. Yeah, Becca, hour with Becca on Shane. Just kidding. Yeah. All right. Anything else we're looking to accomplish in 2023? Go for it, Sarah.
Well, my word for 2023 is production, though nothing on this, nothing like Shane's at all. It's going to publish my first book and hopefully at least get the second one in a good place so that I can either publish it at the end of 2023 or beginning of 2024.
Awesome. That's so exciting.
That's the aim.
Yeah, that's amazing. Have a party. This is my advice to everybody who publishes their first book. Something I didn't do that I really wish I had, because you will publish it and you will be shocked at how the people in your life are like, "Good job," and then they go on about their day. So I really thought that my family was going to plan for me some huge party when I finished my first book, and they seem to have forgotten that I was even writing it. So plan your own party. That's my advice for new authors. Plan your own party.
Or get your soul crushed.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily soul crushing. It's just this is well, I remember there used to be a podcast. Was it called Ditch Diggers? I don't remember. It was one of the first Cassie, do you know what I'm talking about? You can have smiled.
No.
It was one of the
I was just
first
thinking
author
about
podcasts.
I was just thinking about how when you launch as a brand new author and you're you hit the button and then I don't know, you want angels or somebody behind you,
yeah,
and it's just kind of
yeah. I'm expecting streamers and everything suddenly just to fell down from the ceiling, champagne bottles,
reviews,
yeah,
and then they just kind of go like this, I don't know.
Yeah, the first podcast I ever listened to on author life was Ditch Diggers with Murr Lafferty and Matt Wallace. And it was literally about, this is not glorious. This is you showing up every day and digging a ditch with words. And it was fantastic, but I did not take their advice and I did not understand that no, nobody's going to have a party for you so yeah, throw your own party, Sarah. Start planning it now.
Celebrate and throw your own party.
Invite everybody. The last book, my tradition is I make myself a really nice steak dinner, is my tradition, and I get a nice bottle of wine and I share it with my wife, but not my children. That's my new steaks too. They don't get any of that. That's my new if they help me write the book, if they even read a book, they can have a steak. But that's my new that's been my tradition.
I love it.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any thoughts or
My
anything else?
big moving forward for this year is going to be doing another year of my podcast, and I want to write some articles, some evergreen stuff for my author services website. That's going to be, right now it looks like it's mostly being about line editing and things that authors can do to make their prose tighter. Those I'm scheduling to publish once a month on the 1st, but we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
I'm having fun writing those, which I'm not doing writing fiction. So, but we'll see how it goes. I'm also looking at doing a couple of collabs where, like we talked about, I do the second draft, because I just writing first drafts for me. I love having written, but I hate writing like Shane. But the pleasure of having written for me doesn't overcome the pain of writing. So, or the pain of not writing. So I just wind up not writing. So I still want to move my business forward and find a way to do that.
Nice. All right, y'all. Well, I think that's we're at I think everybody, if somebody else have anything to share, I'm cutting people off. Maddie, do you want to share something?
I think that we need to mention that Tom launched a book today.
Tom, you launched a book today?
Oh, congrats.
Yeah. So this is it's called The Train Job. It's not my favorite, but that's okay. But this is the book that I wrote half of before COVID and then stopped for 2 years. So I was incredibly happy to see the back end of this. But also my first book is free right now. So if anyone wants to grab that, and I have to tell you, it's been free before. I think a tried and true strategy is to get a couple hundred reviews by having it free and then switch it back to paid. So, but I just switched it back to free after a year, and with the new covers on it, and the downloads are double what they were when I had it free last time. So
wow.
Hope that means the cover is working.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. The covers for Chicago Blue is amazing.
And Cassie, don't look, but that image is AI generated.
Okay. I hope you have
for Chicago Blue, not
for that.
not for Train Job, but for Chicago Blue, for that whole series, for the Red Riley series, they are all AI generated.
That's awesome.
I mean, not the typography, just the image.
Yeah. That's cool.
That is very cool.
Any other plans for coming up for the next year? Anything else anybody wants to share? All right. Anything else we want to talk about? Thanks for hanging out, y'all. This was great.
What a fun group.
Yeah, it's a great start to my morning.
Nice.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right.
It's
I'll
good
see
to
y'all.
meet you, Maddie. I don't think I've met you before.
Yeah, it's great meeting all of
nice
you.
to
This was so much fun. I'm going to have to, I would love to join future ones.
Yeah, we're doing them twice. I think I'm going to keep up the twice a month thing moving forward because I really enjoy these. So I think I'll keep going twice a month with them. Yeah. So anyway, and we got it where I'm getting ready to do the book club list because that's going to be one of them each month next year. Next year I'm changing it up and we're doing classics. So if you have a classic that you want on the list, hit me up.
Tom, I'm recommending no books. Damn it. Sorry. That cracked me up.
It's really funny.
But if you haven't been on the calls, it's because Laura and I disagree on every single book.
Yeah. If it makes you feel better, she's recommended a couple that I have gone after on our book. The two that she's picked, I've been like, no. But that's one of the reasons that I want to go classics, because I think we veer too much into did we like it or not like it. I want to get away from that.
So what's your definition of classic though?
Right.
Because some people's definitions vary.
I don't have a definition of classic. I don't know. What should be my definition of classic?
So
Books
do you
old.
consider Sherlock Holmes classic?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say anything that's older than 15 years that has continued to sell.
Oh, okay. Phew. Fine.
Yeah.
Were you thinking I was going to do like Beowulf, Shane? Is that what you were?
Yeah, I was thinking like classics. That's why my
No.
face
Like
just
Pride
went,
and
oh.
Prejudice and
Oh.
Bram Stoker Dracula and things like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking things like that. Yeah, I'd love to get. So I guess I should say modern classics. I'm really looking at like, okay, books that have stood the test of time. That's what I want us to
So
read.
really, it should be longer than 15 years ago. It should be like 20 to 30 years ago if you're going to call it a classic. Because then, I mean, I know for if you're my age, which you might be close to, I don't know, I'm 50. So like, I think about what I read in high school as classics, like, so they would have predated me in school.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Cassie, you're
And I guess my time, I am so bad with time. Can I just say I'm terrible with time? I was actually reading an article this week about how time slows when time feels like it. No, I'm sorry. Time feels like time is all relative, but time feels like it speeds up when a lot is happening at one time. But then it also seems to age us faster. So like when a lot is happening, time passes quicker for us, which is a weird thing. So sometimes when I say 15 years, it feels like 50 to me. I'm like, oh, this is like, yeah. So because I'm thinking 15 years, I'm like, yeah, that's
still in
1997. No, it's 2003, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not even in the 90s. I was like, no, it's got to be older than that.
Yeah, it's got to be older than that. I want to get pre-Grisham. Does that sound
in the
good?
80s?
Yeah.
So, 30 years ago.
Pre-Clancy. Yeah. But yeah, so books that have continued to sell post that also have decent dialogue, because like I love Vonnegut and he still sells, but his books are weird, man. They're just weird.
I don't think I've ever read one.
There's lots
They're
of
weird. They're great.
They're great. There's lots of lewd drawings in them. Yeah.
It sounds backwards for me to not be recommending books, but have you considered doing like TV episodes for dialogue critique at some point?
We used to have these calls. I stopped doing it, I think, in like December of 2021 for no other reason than just I kind of ran out of time. But we used to do cast building sessions around like movies, like watch a movie and let's talk about the cast.
I remember those. Those were good.
Yeah.
Those were really
good. I
good.
need to start doing them again.
And probably easier than convincing people to read a 400-page book.
They are. I think part of it is like my own having to like doubling down on. So I use the podcast to influence my own behaviors. I don't know if y'all do that. I want to read more, so we'll do more books.
Have you ever thought about and stop me if this is like old stuff, but doing short stories? Because I just interviewed Gabriela Pereira for the Indie Author podcast. We were talking about what writers can learn from short fiction. And we had a really fun conversation about character development in Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus.
Yeah. We have done a ton of short stories.
Okay.
I haven't done one since May. So that's another thing I have to put on the list to do.
Yeah. Well, she had a really cool list that had like Truman Capote and E.L. Doctorow and Patricia Highsmith, Shirley
Ray
Jackson,
Bradbury's
like that.
A ton of them.
Yeah. Joyce Carol Oates. So I think that would, satisfy the classics as well as the making it, easy for people to absorb the material before a conversation.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's a good point, Maddie. That's really smart. I think it's weird. We're talking about our year. May, my mom died, and we started this like journey of my daughter getting into college, and it does feel like I kind of lost half of a year. It's like, oh, this is strange, because I was traveling like every other weekend with her, and like then I'd come back in the day job. I'd have to like pick back up on the day job. It'd be huge. Like, so yeah, it's a weird, y'all are talking about all these things that we used to do. And I'm like, why did we stop doing that? Oh yeah. I just ran out of emotional energy to like figure this crap out. But yeah, so those are all, maybe we'll do that instead of 12 classic slogs. Maybe we'll do 12 short stories and 12 movies instead. 12 cast building sessions. That would be more fun.
Tom, will you recommend movies then?
Movies? Oh yeah. Absolutely. I'll find ones that Laura hates.
That's really easy.
Let's do Wings of Desire.
Yeah,
No,
Laura only likes movies that are made by Jerry Bruckheimer, so
Yeah,
it's very
there's some
easy to find
great-
movies she hates.
There's also some great Penguin classics that are short. Like one of my all-time favorites is Cannery Row, which is just fabulous, and it's it's like 120 pages. So
Yeah, part of my wanting to read, like, just to be honest, part of my wanting to read classics is because I'm so poorly read. That's part of my desire to
maybe
read.
I'll shoot you a list of classics that are under 200 pages.
Nice, that's perfect.
So you defined as being poorly read, not having read classics?
Yeah, I have a real man. This is just turning into like a psychoanalyzed Jeff session. I have a real no, it's good. I have this is like one of my personal neuroses because I didn't go to school for writing or English. I always feel very unequipped. So I try to overcompensate by like reading through, like being like, well, I'll just have to do this on my own. But
because the reason I ask is because I felt the same way. I'm a science major. I work in clinical research, so nothing to do with writing fiction at all.
Yeah. If you want to talk about the impact of Moltmannian theology, I'm your guy.
Yeah. So I took a similar path, and I was like, oh, I can get all the classics on free on my Kindle. So let's go. And I just started reading them. They're boring as shit. Sorry, I don't care. And I didn't love them. I ended up loving Bram Stoker's Dracula for a different reason. But like, I wasn't getting anything out of it versus reading things in my genre that were current, that excited me, that I go, what is well read? If it's to be a literary author, that's one thing. But if you're not in that capacity, then maybe you might want to reassess that, because I don't know that, quote, being well read is classics.
Yeah,
it's what you write in your genre.
That's a good word. I did have a season where I read every Pulitzer winner for the last 15 years, and that was really helpful. I will say that was really helpful. That's where I learned a lot of the stuff we talked about with Dialogue Doctor, was I was reading these like ones that the literary community had celebrated, which was good.
Well, and Pulitzers are much more mainstream than
they
like
are.
The
They're very mainstream.
than the Booker Prize winner or the National Book Award or whatever.
Yep.
So that's a good idea.
Yeah, so I did that, but they're not fun. They're not fun to read. Pulitzer's been very tragic and sad. Like, oh, this is a rip your heart out story. But yeah, so I did that for a bit. I don't know. I think I don't know how everybody else feels about this. I think part of my problem with it, Cassie, is that I don't really like a specific genre. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, I'm going to read in a genre.
You're
when it's like
experimenting
I don't like
as
a genre.
So
yeah,
your well-read could be experimenting across genres, including some classics, including some of this and some of that.
Yeah. I wish I read
just
faster.
Think saying to be well-read, you must read the classics is like an English professor's mantra, not like a modern day.
It's very true. It's very true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's very true.
Are we going to debate
That's
Pride and
excellent
Prejudice or no?
I mean, if you want to learn dialogue, Pride and Prejudice is excellent. I got to say.
Okay. But you know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean, though.
That's a bad example, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Are we gonna debate Huck Finn? Is that what we're doing here? Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
But I just wanted to say one thing to circle back around, Jeff. All your skill stack, as Jay would call them, your life experience is so much more useful for your fiction than my life experience with my English degree. That you should not be feeling bad about your background at all.
Yeah, I really want to use Shane's life experience of a pet actuary to write my next novel. That's what I'm.
That's not going to be a bestseller.
Can we co-write that series? I'm going to make a cover for it.
That'd be great. And I think we could do like, how he's like secretly killing pets and skimming money off the top.
Oh man,
I love it.
To collect.
I love it already.
I told you that in confidence.
I'm sorry, Shane.
I told you that. You said you'd keep that private, man.
I'm sorry, man. I won't share this. Oh no, I didn't realize it was private. I'm sorry. I won't share that again. Yeah, but anyway, it was fun. Anything else we want to talk about? Okay, great. All right, well then I will see y'all around the Slack. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
Jeff.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Nice meeting you.
And you.